Good morning. It's Viewpoint, the program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. And to my right is our co-host, Mrs. Busby, who's studying her notes already. Boy, we've got...
and none too soon.
We've got personalities and perspectives. Well, we do have a politician with us, but thank goodness she rates on the good side of that advertising, you know. Sometimes there's just a kind of a certain little aura when you say politician. Yeah. Well, that's not the case here. Boy, as we all know, our lady with us this morning is one of the best clerks in 102 counties. And,
well, yeah. But that isn't just our opinion, is it?
No,
that's been voted by the people.
Yeah, right. Well, first and foremost, a little kudo. I note this morning that Integrity Data, once again, has stepped up to the plate in the community, and they have made an investment of the tune of $7,500 in, let's see, this program is called Community Giving Program. Thanks to those gentlemen at Integrity Data. They're deeply involved in the community, and we appreciate their continued efforts. So why don't you introduce our guest, because we've got some serious business this morning.
Very serious, very serious. Sally Litterly is the county clerk, and she sees to it that all of the elections held in the county of Logan are on the up and up, and she's studied intensely the Chicago system, and we do everything just the opposite here. Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah, Judy, that's probably what I told you verbatim.
Well, she's not only the best as far as service is concerned, she's the most comely of the 102 counties, too, while we're at that.
Besides
that.
We're very happy to have you with us, and there is an election coming, and the percentage that we generally have turn out for any election in this county, in this particular off-year election is?
About 18%.
Let's see if we can go hog wild and get 19 this time. Wouldn't that be something?
Pardon me while I gag.
Really?
That's just incredible.
Well, maybe we'll see when we talk later with our guest some of the issues that bring voters out. And voters that are complacent are generally happy with the way things are going, or they don't have an issue to bring them out. That's called elite democracy. It's a theory of elite democracy. They look at the glass as half full, and they're comfortable with the way things are, so they generally don't come out to vote unless there's an issue, of which we'll talk later to Steve about.
An important one. A very, very important issue.
Very.
But it's still in all, Mrs. Litterly, you know, 18, 19%, you say there's no issues. The issue is democracy. And when people fail to participate in it, the first thing you know, down the road we're going to wake up and they won't have that right. And they don't seem to understand that.
Well, you and I look at it as that's our civic responsibility, is to cast a ballot. But not everyone looks at it that way. But there's many things that are on the ballot, of which I'll segue into the different things that are on the ballot.
Can you just guesstimate which age group is more heavily represented in this particular off-year election generally?
Well, certainly in all elections, the greatest age group is that of probably from 50 to 75, in that range. They're the ones that probably get out the most in every election.
Now, we'll have some new wards in the city. Is that this election?
Yes, it is. The city of Lincoln decided to do some changing of their wards, and they reduced a ward, as you probably well know, Judy. And that will be reflected in this election. One of the things that I wanted to remind voters is that when you go to your polling place this election, you don't necessarily look for your ward, you're looking for your precinct. And an important thing to speed the process up for you prior to going to the polls is to either, if you don't know your precinct number or you don't know where you go to vote, call our office and we'd be happy to tell you where that is, 732-4148. Or you also can go online at the county clerk's website under election information and click on election information, and there's a tab that says, am I registered to vote? If you would click on that tab, you just enter in your name and your zip code, and it'll tell you where you're registered to vote, what your polling place is. So that's very helpful as well for those that use services, online services.
Right, right, because there are going to be these little changes this time, and if you go to where you used to go, you might be in the wrong place.
Well, everyone should be in the same place. There's just a few changes for those.
Well, the numbers, though.
Yeah, the wards are different, but your
But the
precinct remains
is
the same.
And
So
that's on your voter registration card.
yes, and that's one thing that we'll be doing this summer is issuing all new voter registration cards. So that's something that you can look forward to getting in your mail this summer.
Okay.
But I could go ahead and tell you a few things that are on the ballot.
Yeah, please and
please.
thank you.
This election we have all the schools, so you'll see those individuals that are running for school board, ESR, region trustees, community colleges, parks, libraries, municipalities, one fire district, all the townships, and referenda. And one of our referenda on the ballot is only specifically to the Village of New Holland, and they're voting for the electrical aggregation, which many of us
Yes.
already voted for. That's the last municipality that'll be voting on that. And the other one is Atlanta Library. They also have an issue on the ballot to increase over the limiting rate 0.15%, which is about 50%, or I'm sorry, $50 per person if you have a $100,000 house. And the way they figure that is that there's, as our guest will tell you too, there's different ways that if you're a tax-capped county that you can put referenda on the ballot, and this is one of the ways, which is asking for over and above the limiting rate for the next taxing year.
Let's just briefly talk about this tax-capped county. Apparently that's us.
Yes, that's correct. Not all counties are tax-capped. If you vote to put if you submit it to the voters, whether or not they want to be tax capped or not, that's the consideration. So if you never put it on for the voters, I hear a cat. If you never put it on, then you're not tax capped. For instance, one of our districts, I'll say the fire district, Beeson Fire District. Although they lie in, the primary area lies in Logan County, which we are capped, they overlap into DeWitt County. DeWitt County has never put tax caps on their ballot. Therefore, they're not a tax-capped entity. So that's the differences between some of the entities that are capped and some aren't. And
Do we have a cat tax?
Yeah, we probably need one here, don't we?
I'm sure Steve Siltman would vote for it after it's cracked all over his black car out
You'd
there.
probably pay a lot of tax here.
That was Jim's pride and joy just went out the door. Sally, with regards to the mechanics of the elections, do you have a difficult time in getting enough election judges? Is that hard to do now in today's times?
It's a little bit better now because we've reduced our precincts from 45 to 29. When we had 45 precincts, it was sometimes difficult. But since we've reduced it to 29, we still have some of the people that we used back when we had 45. So we've been able to fill those positions fairly easily, and
Good.
That's been very helpful.
Oh, I should think so.
Lord knows they're not overpaid. It's got to be a civic calling to do that.
Yeah, we do have some people that say they don't want their check.
Interesting.
And they
Oh, well, that's pretty altruistic, isn't
absolutely. And some election judges or some people that help with the election just have the county keep the money. So that's very
it? Oh,
admirable.
good. Kudos to those folks. My
Yeah.
golly, yeah. Go ahead, honey.
There's a couple other things that I wanted to mention, and that is the information that's on the ballot. Statute provides that we have to publish in a newspaper, which you probably saw, that a huge insert of all the different entities and the individuals running for office. We submit that to Lincoln Daily News, which is an online, and the Herald, which is online, Mount Pulaski Times, and also to the Lincoln Courier. We submit the same file to all of them, and Mount Pulaski Times, Lincoln Daily News, and the Herald have it all correctly. and the Courier did not.
Oh.
So the Courier is actually, there were several mistakes that they're publishing again on Thursday. So we had several calls from different entities that said, hey, this isn't right, I'm a vote for 4, not a vote for 2, or things of that nature. And it was not our fault, nor was it the fault of the people that certified to us, but it was an artwork problem, and they just messed the file up. So I want voters to be aware that there will be something coming out in the Courier, free of charge, of course, to us.
Thankfully.
That they'll produce that again. So if you wanted that pull out, or else you can get a paper from the Mount Pulaski Times, and it's all right there, or online at Lincoln Daily News or the Herald.
Okay, but be aware that Thursday that's coming, and it'll help you be prepared like a good Girl Scout if you pull that out of there and
right.
study
It has all the
a
different
moment.
things that you can vote for, including referenda. And the 3 referendums that are on there, you'll be able to at least read ahead of time. It also is advisable for someone to read your school board if your school board is divided up a certain way, such as in Chester East, there is an issue that they're voting on their board members, and of course there's only so many to vote for, and there's more running. But you need to pay attention to how many can be elected from a certain area. Lincoln High School is the same way. They only have so many elected from a certain area. So that's very important that you know how you vote when you go into the booth, that the person you vote for wins, and a 2-year unexpired term is seated first. After that gets fulfilled, perhaps if there's already one person on from that area on your board, and the 2-year unexpired term person gets elected from that same area, and your rules are only 2 can be elected and serve from that area.
From that area.
The next person, even if they're the highest vote getter on a 4-year term, they couldn't be seated because there's no place to seat them to. So the next 3 from different areas, if they weren't already represented in those amounts, they get seated. So it's very important that the voters pay attention to those things. Lincoln High School's like that, Hartsburg's like that, Chester East, and Olympia.
You know, to me, what you've just explained is about as clear as mud.
Yeah, it's... Well,
it is pretty complex. I was sitting here thinking, that's pretty complex.
Yes, it is. It is. And if that's the way you founded your school district, that's what you chose to do, to say so many people can be represented from such an area. So it's important that you look at that because it explains it. However, if you look at Olympia's and even Chester East's wording on the ballot, it's about 4 inches long to read, no more than 3 from the section 25, range 32 or whatever.
Yes.
It's quite lengthy. So you need to be well advised when you go into the booth. So
best you should read that before you go to the polls.
Absolutely.
And study it and see if you can digest the whole thing. And I'd say for myself, rots are rock.
Well, that is, and getting down to basics, voting for school board members is about as important as anything you vote for on the ballot.
That's a great point, Bill.
These are the folks who are involved, directly involved, in the education of our future.
That and 90% of your tax bill is based on these people that you're electing in that election on Tuesday.
Yeah.
They're the people that make up 90% of your tax bill. So that it's a very important election.
So if you're not into education, you're certainly into your pocketbook and what it's doing. So for that reason alone, you might want to think about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it is important. Those are the people that are going to run bills in my nursing home.
Well, sure.
Well, I hadn't thought about that yet. However, as I look around the corner, I got thinking of the school board members, and there was a very nice article in the Courier the other day about a former teacher of mine, Louise Gordon, and that brought to mind the school board members of that time And I could go around the table in my mind's eye and identify all those school board members in the late 30s and the 40s.
Sure.
Go ahead, Sally. You have some other points that you want to make there, please.
To know is voting times. Of course, the polls are open on Election Day, April 9th, which is next Tuesday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., like they always are. And again, if you don't know your polling place and your precinct, call our office or go online and check those things. The other thing I wanted people to know that it is still grace period registration and voting is going on now. So because you're not registered to vote, you can still register to vote, but you must cast your ballot at the same time. And you do need to have 2 forms of ID in order to do that. You can do that in our office, and we are open for grace period registration even Saturday from 9 to noon. That's the last time that you'll be able to register to vote prior to the election on Tuesday.
Even this Saturday?
Yes.
Am I hearing that correctly?
This Saturday,
if
9 to
people
noon.
have not registered, they can come in this Saturday and vote next Tuesday.
That's correct. And in addition to that, they can come in right now, all the rest of the week,
right.
of course. Also, we on Saturday is early voting as well. Early voting's been extended statutorily, and as well as grace period through that Saturday. Then on Monday, the day before the election, an individual can still come into our office and cast an absentee in-person ballot. If anyone wants a ballot by mail, the last day they can do that is Thursday. So it's very important that they call us right away or email or fax their application in, get that application. There's a lot of email or applications out there. You can download it off the internet, fill it out, and send it into our office. But the last day we can send out a ballot is Thursday.
What happens in the off chance that somebody's letter falls on the floor at the post office and gets to be to their house on Wednesday next?
When you say letter, what do you mean by that?
Their application, voting by mail.
Sure. They can go into their polling place and go ahead and cast a ballot. Because if we don't have their ballot back, then they're not considered to be an absentee voter. That means they didn't cast their ballot. If they did get a ballot and they chose not to vote it, they could surrender their ballot at the polling place and issue a new ballot.
Oh, okay. And what envelope do you put that in?
Yeah, good one, Judy. It would be in your during the day, during voting hours, not spoiled, but yeah, spoiled envelope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's an election judge, that's why she asked.
At this point juncture in our program this morning, I'm going to vote that we take a short commercial break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to continue speaking with Sally Litterly, our county clerk, and a great one, and Steve Siltman, Logan County Paramedics Association. And that's very, very important because we have a real issue coming up there. Ready for a commercial break, sir?